Welcome back. This time we're going to be making a door that's opened with a 4-digit code on a code pad. You'll see there's a lot in puzzle games, films, TV shows. They always seem to be overused. So even though I'm showing you this for educational purposes, please don't overuse these if you're making a puzzle map. I'll link a video in the video description from a content creator who talks about why escape rooms are kind of bad in some cases because they over-rely on these code pads or these pin pads or just 4-digit codes in situ. Make sure you're thinking about other puzzles if you're building a puzzle map. If you do build a puzzle map here in Neos, please do let me know. Puzzle games are my favorite. So a door with a code pad, which will open the door when you get the code correct. Let's go ahead and get started. If we hop over into Smooth POV, the first thing we're going to do is get a door that is ready to kind of go and use as a door. To do that, we're going to go back into my public folder, which is getting a bit untidy, but there we go. Inside my public folder, there is a folder called Tutorials, and inside Tutorials, you'll see that there is a folder called Door with Key. And inside Door with Key, there are two doors. One of these is set up called Door Setup, and one is called Door Base. We'll be using Door Base. This door comes from a previous tutorial I did, which I'll also link in the video description, where I make a key that you can put in the door to open it. This will be a pin pad, so we don't need the key. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this around, and I'm going to delete the key. And I'm also going to get rid of the keyway there, because it's electronic lock. It's not a key lock, so we'll get rid of the keyway there. And there we go, we have our door set up. Now, the next part of the setup is going to look a little bit tedious, but do keep in mind that we are going to speed things up as much as possible. We'll be creating one of the buttons for the code pad, and then the rest should happen automatically using a bunch of components and a little bit of logic. So do keep that in mind, because we're going to be making it procedurally. So out here, just away from the door, simply because I don't want to look at the door whilst I'm doing it, I'm going to go ahead and make a 3D box model. I'm going to go ahead and inspect this, because it'll be faster to edit the numbers on the box mesh rather than scaling things around. I want the size of a button for this box mesh. I'm going to go ahead and see what 0.1 on all of them looks like. That's still probably too big, so I'll go down to 0.5. Copy that across to all of them, and then take a look. That'll probably do. It'll be a little bit on the large side, but that's totally fine by me. I am going to shrink the Z down by half, so now it looks more like a button. Perfectly fine here. And then we're going to go ahead and create a parent above it, and that'll be our overall code pad. It's good to have like a root of your object which isn't a visual, which is just sort of everything where everything else is stored. So that'll be the code pad, and we've got our first button on there. Let's go ahead and create another box. This will be for the back plane that goes behind all the numbers. And we will parent that to our code pad, hence why it's good to have a code pad. I also call this background. Once this is set up as well as a basic pin pad, I will save it in that same folder. So if you don't want to make the code pad, but you do want to learn from the tutorial, you can use that as well. Can remove grabbable, reset its position so it's lined up with our other code pad, and then shrink things down. So I know that we're going to need probably 0.5 on all of these. Let's take a look. Too big, shrinking that down to 0.1. 0.05, let's do 0.025, and then drop all of these by half as well. That's looking more like it. Hey, let's make it shorter lengthwise than it is long. That looks more like it. And then we'll just bring this out that way. And now we've got our first button and the pad around it. Let's go do some coloring. So I want to make it so that the background, actually we're going to leave the background white. I want the buttons to be black with a white piece of text indicating the number. So to do that, we'll go to create new materials and then PBS metallic, and I'll make it black. And I will drop that into our first button, which is this box at the top here. And now that button is, black. I can go ahead and destroy that material. I won't need it again. And now we've got our button. Now we will need 9 buttons, but what we're going to do is set up one and then just duplicate them, and it's going to handle it magically. So the next part of the button would be placing a piece of text on it which says 1. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So create text basic, label it with 1, and then we'll do that similar thing to what we did to the background, but this time we're going to parent it to the box up here, not the background. And that's going to be our number 1 button. So I'm going to reset position rotation. That will get the 1 into our box area, and then I'm going to push it out until it's slightly in front. We will make it a little bit further back once I shrunk down the size. So now I just want the one to fit in the box. And center middle's great, and then I'm just going to line up a little bit better with the face of the button. Make sure we don't have any Z-fighting, and we're good. To keep those all like that. That doesn't look centered, but it is. Just the way text sometimes looks. You see, that's identically centered on the box there. So there we go, there's our one button. And we're going to make the one button work, and then we'll duplicate it and make it automatically update so that we end up with a whole grid really, really quickly. Trust me, we'll get there. So I'm going to name this 1, so we know it's the one button, and then we can finish setting this up. So if we go to, actually we will need, because of the way we're going to do it, we're going to need a slot above this, and we'll call this one position. The reason we're going to need this is because the type of button we're going to need is going to drive its position, and we're going to be using the object grid aligner to make the grid of buttons, and so we need one slot that can be positioned by the physical button, which we're about to use, and one slot that can be positioned by the object grid aligner. If you're not sure what an object grid aligner is or what a physical button is, I have videos linked in the video description on both of those. Again, this is going to be one of those videos where I sort of combine a bunch of stuff together into a big list of stuff. So now this is our actual one button. We can go ahead and we can add transform, interaction, and physical button. Lost, there it is. And you'll see now that when I push it in, it's going into our back pane quite well, but it's actually going too much. So we can scroll down to where the physical button is, and we'll see here where it says press depth. We'll go ahead and lower that down to 1. And there you go. Now it's got a really big tactile feel to it. This will also work with a finger. Boop, boop, boop. So there you go. That's the one button. We're almost actually done with the button, and therefore we'll be able to, clone it around a little bit. The first thing we need to do, though, for our code pad is we need to store a place where we want the correct combination. If you're making a puzzle game, make sure to make it that people can't use Builder, or they're going to just inspect and find the combination. Now, we could use dynamic variables for this, but I'm going to go ahead and just use a value field for this. If you're not sure what value fields are, I have many videos on them. They're what we used to use before we had dynamic variables. They're still perfectly fine. We like them a lot. So I'm going to go to value field, and this is where it might surprise you. We're actually going to use value field string. And the reason behind that is I did think about using numbers, but when you use numbers, it's very difficult because it's like, oh, I pushed 1 and then I pushed 1. Well, do we add 2 1s to the number to make it 11? Or do we add them together and make it 2? No, that's not quite right. What we want is a string, and then we just wait for the string to be 4 digits long, or 4 characters long, and then we see if it matches. So this here is going to be our valid code. So I'm going to make this just for the purpose of the tutorial 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to need another value field, and this is going to be the series of strings that they are entering. So for that, what we're going to do is go back to our one button, and we're going to add a component, attach component, common UI, button interactions, button string append. Here's that button string append thing. And then the append string we want is that 1. So we're going to type in 1 there. And then for our target string, we're going to need the second value field. Put that in there. And now I want to put this next to each other, and I want you to see what happens. So if I get rid of the gizmos here, if I push this button, you'll see our second value field ends up being filled up with 1s. Now don't worry about the fact that it's rolling over. We'll just clear it out for now. So that's our one button done, but now we want to make things a little bit more automatic. So what we're going to do there is abuse a few things in Logix. So we're going to basically make a child slot for our buttons. We'll parent our one button to there. And then we're going to write a little bit of Logix for our one button. So with my Logix tip out, what we're going to do here is grab the position. This is the one that's going to be driven by that grid aligner. That's why there's 2, remember. And we're going to look at its index of child. Where are we? Index of child. Here it is. Plug this in, and you'll see that we get 0. And that's because it's the first button in our button pad. It's number 0. Computers start at 1, remember. At 0 even. But because we don't start at 1, and particularly you don't see 0 on pin pads a lot, you actually do in some cases, but they're not used. Maybe we can add a 0 later. Anyway, we're going to hop this into +1, and now we'll get 1. With 1 added, we've now got the number of the button in the place. Like if I duplicated this button now, we would have button 2, button 3, button 4. So we can do some cool stuff with this. The first thing I'm going to do is drive that slot name. So to do that, we're going to need to go to Operators, to String. And this will change our index that we've added 1 to into a string. So here we get 1. And then we need to add that position just so we don't get confused. So we'll add that. So here we go. Position. And we'll need a space at the front there. Sorry, I realized that text box wasn't in there. We've got space, got 1 plus space plus the word position. And that will give us 1 position, which we can then drive our slot's name with. That'll set up the slot position. And then if we go down to our slot underneath that, which shouldn't have grabbable on it. Neither should that one if it does. It does not. Great. And we'll want to drive a bunch of things on this. So I'm also going to drive the name on that one. As this one doesn't have the position, we can just drive it directly from the to string here. And then we also want to drive the text. So I'll go ahead and find that text. Here's the text renderer. And we'll plug that into the text of the text renderer. And then at the bottom of the button, not the text, we'll see button string append. And we want to change the append string to also be that toString value. And that should be the button setup, but more importantly, it should be the button setup for all of the buttons that we need to use. It should be the button setup for 1, it should be the button setup for 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 9. And technically we could go above 9, but let's not do that, because that will affect a little bit of Logix we do later. Now, could this be non-Logix? Yes, it could. It could be a couple of value copies, but with the Logix wires, we're effectively doing value copies anyway, so it doesn't matter. For those still saying, oh, look, components are better, in some cases. In this case, it doesn't matter. So we're just going to use Logix. So we're going to pack this Logix into that button. And then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the 1 position. Don't duplicate 1, duplicate the 1 position. That's because we're going to drive that position with our object grid liner in just a moment. So if I duplicate that, you'll see we get a button called 2. If I separate that manually just for now, and I push that 2, you'll see that the value string, which is the one that's being driven by our buttons, starts having 2 appended to it. If I push 1, it's got 1 appended to it. 1, 2, 1, 2. Fantastic, right? Let's get that grid aligner set up. So we'll reset the position of all of these. We'll go up to buttons, and we're going to add the object grid aligner to the buttons list. So it's in transform drivers, object grid aligner, and then we've got to set it up. This is usually quite random the way it works, so I just enter numbers till it works. You can copy what you see on the screen, or you can go ahead and take a look at the object grid aligner video that's in the video description for more information. These are sort of, you got to like feel them. So we know 1's too big, so we'll go 0.3, that's too big, 0.2 too big, 0.1 too big. 0.5 is too small, I want a little gap. I don't want the gap to be that much. Let's take a look at that. That looks okay. And then we'll probably have to do the same there for the Y. Let me go change things around here, mid on both of those. And then we can just go ahead and start duplicating. So we've got 2, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Go back to the buttons. Now we can start playing with them. So we don't want Z, we want probably Y. Y-neg looks good. And then we want items per row down to 3. And there we go. It just magically started working. I realize we've got a little bit more room because we're not including 0. That's an oversight on my part, but like, hey, does it really matter? So we can spread things out a little bit more. And then there we go. We've got a pin pad. So if we clear out the string now, we just go down the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Actually, it's good that we've got that room, because I realized that we can put the code display above that. So what we can do here is shift this button display down a little bit. And then we can create a new piece of text, which will position just above the buttons. It's in the button aligner, so I'm going to move it out of there. So we're going under the code pad. There we go. Move that. Actually, we can probably do that, and that will get centered. Shrink down this text. Make that red. Ideally, we should maybe put like another black panel on there to make it look like an LCD screen. I'll leave that up to you. Like I said, we're just making things roughly. And then for this case, I will use a value copy because I'm in the position to do it quite quickly. So if you're not sure what a value copy is, video link in the video description. Again, here I'm basically just like, yo, this uses an old tutorial, go watch it. And I'm sorry about that. That's just the way things sometimes are because of the sort of explosive tree nature of Neos. It's like, do you know this component? Yes. Do you know this component? No. Well, there's probably a video on it from myself. So we'll need a value copy string. And then we want our source to be the second value field, our target to be the text at the text renderer. And then you'll see that that all lines up there. Now it is going to run over, especially if we spam it, but we're about to fix that too large of an entry in just a moment. As in right now. So what we're going to do here is, we don't need to worry about the buttons. We're never going to worry about the buttons again. Now they work. We're going to go ahead and grab this value field. And we're going to start examining it. So what we want to basically see is the length of the value field here exactly 4? Once it's 4, we'll then check what it is. So we're going to go to flow, and then we'll need fire on true. And we'll also need operators and equal equal. And we will also need string and string length. String length. I want the second input there to be 4. And we plug this value into 4. And we also need to put a user here. Always put a user here. If you're not sure what user to put here, put host user. In some cases, you might want to make it another user. For this case, host user is totally fine, but always put a user there. So now what we've got is, hey, is this 4? And if we clear this away and we type 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll see we've got an impulse there. And that's because, hey, we just entered our 4th digit. Here's an event when we entered our 4th digit. So now we need to do something on that event. And what we want to do is check, hey, is what they entered our correct or our target combination? So we'll grab our target combination, which is this one. That's the one they entered. This is the one that they were looking at. And we'll say, hey, do these equal? And for that, we need to use flow if. So we're saying, hey, when this event happens, which is when our last digit occurs, we want to say, hey, is this, which is our target code, equal to what they've entered? And then if it is, we'll get a pulse up here. And if it isn't, we'll get a pulse down here. So again, here, if I clear this out and I enter 5, 5, 5, 5, you'll see we get false because that isn't our target combination 1, 2, 3, 4. But if I enter 1, 2, 3, 4, the top one will go off because like, hey, we got it right. So what we need to now do is if we get it right, we just need to rotate the door so that it's open. And if they get it wrong, we just need to clear out the pad. I'm also going to make it clear out the pad if they get it right though. And that means that anyone following behind them can't piggyback off that code. So let's go ahead and get that started. First of all, what we'll do is we will set up that resetting back down to 0. Let's go ahead and get that done. For that, we can use one write node. We'll just do actions write. And we can plug that into our original value. We can move that over. Once that's linked up, we can move that over there. And we can say, hey, if you got it wrong, clear it out. And so now if we go ahead and clear this, it'll be, okay, 2, 2, 2, 2, and it clears out. 2, 2, 2, 2, it clears out. I'm going to add a little delay there just so that they see that the last digit they entered. So we'll do a little delay before it gets cleared. So we'll say, hey, how about a quarter of a second? That should be enough. It just didn't look human otherwise, so let's move this out of the way. 3, 3, 3, 3, and then it clears. 3, 3, 3, 3, and it clears. 3, 3, 3, 3, and it clears. Now you could put a You could put a like sound here, other stuff like that, if you wanted to. That's up to you. And technically, if you spam, you might be able to get more digits in. These a couple of times there, I get in more than 4. That's totally fine though, because it's already going to be cleared. See, I'm kind of addicted to doing this now. And there we go. So now what we need to do is open the door and then clear the code. Let's go ahead and do that. So if I remember from memory, this door is quite easy to open. I will go over it again though. It is covered in that door with a key tutorial though. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the door, and I want to go to the hinge of the door. If you're not familiar with the door, take some time to take a look at it. This is the hinge, and you'll see here it's lined up with the door frame, so it makes sense. And I think it's just 90 on the Y that we need to do. Yep, there we go. That would be fully open. Now, doors don't open to 90, so if you're building a door in a TV show or whatever, you'd probably open it to less than 90, because doors don't go to always to right angles. There's a door stopper or a cat or your lost socks behind the door, but we'll go to 90 for simplicity. So all we need to do is basically say, hey, when the code is correct, change this to 90. And we're going to use the tween node to do that. That's also the way I did it in the key with opening the door with a key. That's just going to make things look nice. We are building the logic over here. We'll be moving everything onto the door shortly. Don't worry about it too much. So what we'll do here is go to our actions folder, and then we want tween. And we want to tween the rotation of our hinge. If you understand how the tween node works and you want more explanation on that, do check the video where I do the door with a key. I think I've also got one on the tween node, not sure. I will link as many videos as I have in the video description. Sometimes when I'm recording, I don't remember what I've done. I'm sorry. For the top here, for the to, actually no, for the from, we need that to be the current rotation of the door. And then for the to, we need a value for the to. We'll go ahead and we will just use a secondary here to get at the input, and we'll type 90. And then we plug in this in the top here. And then for when it started, we want to clear out the pin pad. And we should be good. That'll be the door opening. There won't be a way to close it, so I guess we could think about how to close it. I know what we can do. We can go ahead and after the tween has finished, which is the second output to tween, let me move things around a little bit. After the tween is finished, we can wait, let's say, 3 to 5 seconds just to be nice, and then we'll close the door again. The pin pad will have already been cleared because it clears at the start of the tween, but after 5 seconds, we'll close the door again. So we'll open this up, bring out delay, and we'll say, hey, after 5 seconds, we want to tween the door, its rotation, and we want to tween that from its current rotation to 0, 0, 0. We also need to do a duration of the tween. So we'll do 1 second opening. That'll be pretty quick, but hey, it's a high security room, right? And we'll put 1 in here. For the curve preset here, I do want this to be smooth, so it looks smooth, otherwise it'll be linear. There we go. That should be everything. So I'm going to go ahead and let's close the door first. So we can do that by manually triggering this. There we go. Our door has closed. We'll go ahead and move the pin pad onto it at this time. So we need to, do we have an inspector open with it? We do. We'll use this one. So we're going to go ahead and grab our code pad in its entirety, parent it to the, actually if you parent it to the box here will be good, position, rotation, scale, and then we need to work out, all right, so it's in the door, so I'll move it a little bit out. I'll move it along and then just below that door handle. And now we can try it out, and then we'll pack up the Logix and call it quits. So we'll get the code wrong, 5555, it blanks out. We'll get the code correct, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the door opens. We'll wait 5 seconds. Hope your day's going well. Let me know how your day's going in the comments, and then the door closes, and we're done. So all we need to do is just pack up this Logix and save it, and we're done. You've got a door with a code. So at the top of the door base here, I'll just create a child, and I'm just going to call this door Logix. Pack it in the normal way. All that's gone. You can get rid of that. And we're done. 1, 2, 3, 4. Door opens. door closes. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, do let me know. Also, I've had a couple of comments in DMs mostly about videos taking too long or being too big. I am slowing down by like 50 to 80% when I'm explaining stuff. Doing this door any other way would have been very, very quick, probably about sort of 5-10 minutes rather than 20. But as I'm explaining everything, I'm going through it. That's why it's so much longer. So don't see this as an accurate case. I have considered doing videos where I just build at my full speed, and that might be interesting to you. So do let me know. And I can take a look and make one of those just to show an example. Because some people are like, building a Neos is slow. And I'm like, no, I'm explaining everything. There you go. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Check those video links in the video description that will help you out with the videos that you might not have seen. And you can find this door set up in that same folder I showed you at the start of the video. It'll be just next to the ones that are already in there with door-code. And maybe we'll turn it into a folder full of doors. Door types. If you have another door type, do let me know. I don't really know of other door types. Maybe like a credit card, the swiper doors. That might be cool. Anyway, see you next time. Bye-bye.